half in the bag. A fucking goat can review movies better than these assholes.
So your sister called me yesterday. I said, stop calling me. She's always calling. She calls at the worst time. She calls when I'm in the bathroom. I gotta get up off the bathroom.
Let me tell you a little something about the VCR repair business, Jay. Is that your name, Jay?
Tell me. I would love to hear what you have to say about the VCR repair industry.
Some people think this is a dying industry, that we're wasting our fucking time, repairing obsolete electronics. But you know what? Let me tell you something. Let me fucking tell you something. Those pricks, they're wrong. They're fucking wrong.
Oh, really? You really think that?
Yeah, I think it. I wouldn't have said it if I didn't think it, you fucking moron.
I would think that too if I was a fucking retard. Let me tell you something. VHS is dead. DVDs and Blu-rays, they're on their way out too. Shit, the future is streaming.
What, streaming? Like fishing? Like fishing in a stream?
Media-less entertainment. Your Rokus and your Booksies.
Shit. What the fuck are you doing, you fucking mindless guinea fuck? Cutting up vegetables? A moment ago you was drinking out of a beer bottle.
Oh, you see, I'm in a Martin Scorsese movie.
Oh, I get it. Hey, speaking of Martin Scorsese, have you seen Mr. Plinkett lately?
Yeah, he's right over there.
Oh.
Hi, guys.
Oh, hi, Mr. Plinkett.
Oh, you brought us lunch. That's so nice of you.
What? Oh, no, this is all for me.
Well, gee, Mr. Plinkett, that's an awfully big lunch, even for you.
Well, here's the thing, all right? My doctor says I need a triple bypass surgery and also massive amounts of angioplasty. Only my new health insurance, which starts January 1st, isn't going to pay for the operation.
You do realize that it's December 31st, right?
Of course I know it's December 31st. That's why for lunch today I'm going to eat 37 double bacon cheeseburgers in order to induce a massive heart attack. If I have a heart attack today, they'll have to give me the operation and my insurance will pay for it.
Huh.
I guess that makes sense.
What?
Well, I'm going to have my lunch, and when I start having a massive heart attack, you two call 911.
Sure thing, Mr. Plinkett. You can count on us.
I always can.
Speaking of eating massive amounts of cheeseburgers, have you seen Jonah Hill's new film, Wolfing Down Wall Street?
What is that, a slide whistle? Jesus fucking Christ, it's so loud!
Oh my God!
Ow, my ears! Ow, I won't stop!
My name is Jordan Belfort. At the tender age of 22, I headed to the only place that befit my high-minded ambitions.
Name of the game, move the money from your client's pocket into your pocket. But if you can make your client's money at the same time, it's advantageous to everyone, correct? No.
The Wolf of Wall Street stars Leonardo Dicaprio as real-life Wall Street a-hole Jordan Belfort.
Hey everybody, Jordan Belfort here, author of The Wolf of Wall Street and creator of the Straight Line System.
The film is described as a biography crime comedy, and it delivers all that and a bag of chips under the masterful direction of Martin Scorsese.
Was that sarcasm?
No, actually this time it wasn't.
Oh my God.
Believe it or not, it was not sarcasm. What did you think of The Wolf of Wall Street, Money Never Sleeps?
I thought this movie was great because it featured the most realistic depiction of a gay orgy that I've ever seen.
You've been to many?
I've seen a lot. I mean, I've never been to a gay orgy before.
What? Why is there floating text that says confirmed for gay?
Oh my God.
How did, but it's only on your side where it says confirmed for gay. Like I try to push it over to my side and it just slides right back to your side.
And this is incredibly frustrating.
It's very weird.
But in all seriousness, I thought this movie was great. It's probably the best movie I've seen all year. I think it's safe to say that everybody that likes movies likes Martin Scorsese, right?
He makes the best films! He makes the best films!
There's some directors that are divisive, Quentin Tarantino or Christopher Nolan, but I think you'd be hard-pressed to find someone that just thinks that Scorsese's an asshole or that his movies suck. And so I was curious to see this because of that, but I wasn't very interested in the subject matter. I was worried it was going to be sort of a heavy-handed, preachy, anti-capitalist, hypocritical movie made by Hollywood, which has never happened before, but
no.
That's what I was worried it would be, and it was not that at all. It's not even really a movie about Wall Street. It's a movie about addiction, addiction to money, addiction to success, drugs, and it worked really well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I wasn't expecting the heavy-handed message of Wall Street is bad, Occupy Wall Street, all that stuff, because it is Martin Scorsese, and he's a man that makes murderous gangsters sympathetic, and enjoys indulging in that, and that's what this movie is. It's 3 hours of visual and entertainment, comedy, drama. It's everything, and it's one of the best movies of the year for sure. It's one of the best movies I've seen in a long time. And I guess if I were to have even the minorest of complaints in this movie, which would just be that character. I mean, the whole movie's about that character, Jordan Belfort.
Entrepreneurs, business owners, salespeople of all types.
Who, of course, is a real person who wrote the book, which is the movie is based on, about all of his Wall Street excess and spending and chaotic adventures and drug use. But you don't really get that arc, that origin, where, like Ray Liotta in Goodfellas. This movie reminded me a lot of Goodfellas because it's that, especially the end.
Oh, sure.
Scorsese's just like ramping it up, and it's just like, we gotta go here, we gotta go here, the cocaine. Goodfellas and Scarface. Lots of similarities, like that character that starts off at the bottom and makes it to the top.
Yeah.
Or Citizen Kane.
Sure.
Charles Foster Kane. There's that. You see them as the innocents first, before the corruption starts and the chaos.
Yeah.
And then the self-destruction and resolution. But I really didn't get a good feeling on who the Jordan Belfort character was before the destruction started or the chaos. So you don't feel that sympathy towards the end.
Yeah, there's like one line from Matthew McConaughey where he's talking to him, and Leo says something about well, if you make a lot of money for the client, it's beneficial for everyone. Yeah. And Matthew McConaughey just says no. Right. He's like, oh, okay. And then that's kind of it.
And then that's it. And then Matthew McConaughey over a lunch turns him into the Wall Street monster.
Yeah, it doesn't have that gradual increase in craziness.
I mean, who am I to tell Martin Scorsese how to make a movie? But it's like Ray Liotta. Ray Liotta is a murderous gangster, although they never show him murder anyone in Goodfellas. But he's involved in criminal activities that result in the murder of people.
Sure.
So you become attached to these characters, and then they're really horrible people at heart, but still, there's a sympathy there.
Well, that's an interesting thing to bring up. Our friend Rich Evans also saw this film. He saw it before we did, and he made the comparison to Pain and Gain. Both based on true stories, both turned into dark comedies about awful people and awful subject matter. Why does this one work when that one is horribly embarrassing?
Ask me again.
Why does this one work? But what's the difference?
Director.
As far as the movie.
Wow. Style, intelligence, humanity.
I think humanity is the big one. Like you look at Pain and Gain, and it's clearly Michael Bay is looking down on these characters.
Yeah.
It's they even stop the movie at one point and have text come on screen that says, "Remember, this really happened. Like, look at these idiots." And this movie. It treats them as real people, and it's not just constantly mocking them. It makes you sort of understand them.
People say, well, that type of person, that sort. But I guess what that means is that they try to distance themselves from them. It's someone else, it's not me. But in actuality, I feel it's not someone else, it's us. It's you and me, and maybe if we had been born under different circumstances, maybe we would have wound up making exactly the same mistakes and choices and doing exactly the same things.
It's like, can these guys be bigger knuckleheads?
Have you seen Wall Street, the Michael Douglas movie?
I have. I've seen both Wall Street films.
Even the second one?
I did. I was the one person.
Why did you go see that? Just curious?
Yeah, I was just curious. Like, after so much time going back to this, this movie and revisiting it.
Oh.
But
ew. So, anyways, Wolf of Wall Street. What was the message that you took away from this movie? I'm just curious, because there is that, you mentioned the speech that Leo gives, and he's talking about there's the woman that's one of the Wall Street people, and he's like, she came in, she was poor and broke, and she had a little kid, she was a single mother, she asked for an advance, and I gave her an advance 5 times that, and she's like, I love you, and you're like, wow, he really is a good guy, but then you're thinking, like, at the same time, that's money that they schemed, essentially, or stole from other people.
Yeah.
That they didn't earn that money in the most honorable way possible.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's like almost Scorsese's like challenging you to whether or not to actually like this guy, or
I got that too from we'll probably talk about it a little bit later, but the extended Quaalude fight sequence where it's slapsticky, it's incredibly funny, but then just with one cut to a close-up of his daughter, like peeking around the corner, like it's like a punch in the gut.
The Quaalude scene where he accidentally takes not accidentally, but he takes a whole bunch of Quaaludes that they think are duds, and they kick in, and he's like convulsing and dragging himself along the ground, and it's just dragged out for so long. And you're like, well, why are they showing us this for so long? What's the point of it?
Well, it goes along with the theme of excess. I mean, the movie itself is excessive, and that scene in particular, it's like, it starts off funny. It's very, Leonardo DiCaprio, turns out, is very good at physical comedy. He's crawling along the ground, he's trying to fall down the stairs to get to his car, to get back to his house, and it goes on so long. It starts out funny, and then it gets sort of uncomfortable and depressing, and then it comes back around to being funny by going on as long as it does.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of other cuts in this movie too, or I should say direction, where the people in this movie it's almost like they act like animals, they act like monsters, and it's almost a caricature.
Well, like a Jonah Hill, the big goofy teeth and the glasses.
Yeah, but I keep thinking of like the scenes where he's rallying people, and they cut to the guys, and they're just like, fuck yeah, and they're foaming at the mouth, and they're all yelling, and it's like, and then the parties that they throw, and some of the stuff. I'm sure there was excess in the 80s with cocaine and prostitution and all this stuff, but I can't imagine these real people acted that crazy.
Sure. Well, everything's heightened.
It's a very heightened reality in this movie, and it's done for a purpose, to show the excess, to show the greed, but without the real slapped-on message. He assumes the audience is smart enough. He says an audience watching this movie is intelligent enough. I'm not going to hand them the point of the movie on a silver platter, and that's nice. I like that. Ugh. Oh my God, Plinkett does not look good.
Well, remember, if he starts to have a heart attack, we have to call 911 right away.
Oh, I was just joking about that. You weren't serious, were you?
Yes, Mike, we can't let him die. That's the whole reason he's staying in the VCR repair shop, remember? Oh. The city tore down his house, but they didn't realize it was a historic landmark, so now he's going to get a huge settlement from that.
Oh, yeah, I remember now. And because we're letting him stay in the VCR repair shop, we're kind of hoping that if he does get a whole bunch of money, he'll give us some. But if he doesn't, we'll just steal it from him. It's a win-win for us.
I started my own firm out of an abandoned auto body shop. We will be targeting the wealthiest 1% of Americans.
I love 3 things. I love my country, I love Jesus Christ, and I love making people rich. Hello?
But I needed to mold them in my own image.
Well, as we've said, this is Martin Scorsese movie, and God bless him, that Martin Scorsese.
He makes the best films!
He's in his 70s, and he's still, there's more heart and passion and energy in his movies than movies made by filmmakers half his age.
Or he's well ahead of his peers.
Yeah, if you look at the people, he came from the 70s. There was like De Palma and George Lucas and people like that, and they're all making...
Francis Ford
Coppola, they're all making crap now.
Francis Ford Coppola made one good movie, and then he coasted for 78 years.
That one good movie you're talking about is Jack, right?
Yeah. So yeah, Martin Scorsese, wow.
Yeah, still at the top of his game. There's, some movies I like of his more than others, but I don't think he's ever made a movie that you could say is just bad.
No.
I didn't care much for Gangs of New York. I loved Hugo. I thought Hugo was great.
Oh, yeah.
It's unfortunate that he's so reliant on Leonardo DiCaprio, but...
Leo is good in this. Great, I would dare say. Better than most movies he's in, but I picture this movie with a different actor, and I probably would have enjoyed it a little more, but he is very good in it. And yeah, you get Leo fatigue in Scorsese movies. It's just like, get some other actors as your leads. Because Departed, good, very good movie. Leo in his bad accents, and like everyone in Departed is good except for him. But with this film, with Scorsese, yeah, Gangs in New York, you know. But this one was most like Goodfellas, and that's one of my favorite movies of all time, where it's just that energy. Do you think this movie should have been cut a little bit even?
You know, I've seen a lot of people talking about the length, and I was completely fine with it. It flew by for me. There was only one very minor sequence where I was like, okay, this can be trimmed down now. It's when Jonah Hill is confronting the guy he's given the money to in the parking lot. And it's like, okay, a cop drove by, I know where this is going. And they just kind of keep arguing. That's the only moment in the movie where I was kind of taken out of it.
That's something I wanted to ask you about or bring up was I felt lots of improv.
Yeah, I don't know if that's just like the way it was written or if that was actual improv, but there's a lot of sequences in this where it's just the two people talking.
Yeah, I think it might have been real improv because Jonah Hill seemed like he was throwing some stuff out and that didn't seem like it was in a script. And then there was a moment where Rob Reiner seems to be playing along and he says, they're talking about women shaving.
Oh yeah, that felt like a Judd Apatow movie.
Yeah, and then he goes, oh, I was born too early. Like there was a slight pause where his brain was catching up. Like you're born too soon, not too soon, too early, you know, where he had to think about it for a moment. And it seemed like a real ad lib. It almost feels like a lot of improv. And I think that's probably why that scene with Jonah Hill and the suitcase went on for so long, because he's doing all these jokes and I don't know.
That's one of those scenes that should be on the outtake reel.
It certainly doesn't feel its length, and it's 3 hours long because I could have kept watching this movie.
Yeah, it's one of those movies where you're watching the scenes and you kind of forget that you're in a theater. You're just watching it and you're caught up in it. Especially a lot of his sort of rally speeches where they go on for a really long time and you're just wrapped up in watching them.
With this script, I'm gonna teach each and every one of you to be the best.
This is the greatest company in the world!
I was becoming a legend.
Aren't you married?
Yeah, but married people can't have friends.
We're not gonna be friends.
I was making so much money, I didn't know what to do with it.
$26,000 for one dinner!
Dad, we're not poor anymore.
Tell them about the sides.
What
are these sides? They cure cancer?
The sides did cure cancer. That's the problem. That's why they were expensive.
So yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio, I still never completely got away from the fact that it's Leo because he does lots of shouting. That's his go-to emotion in movies is just shouting, and that means intensity. But he is good. What surprised me the most was Jonah Hill. For me, he kind of stole the movie.
Yeah.
And a lot of the scenes between Leo and him in this movie reminded me of the dynamic between Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro in the older Scorsese movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jonah Hill's good. Everyone's good in this. Rob Reiner shows up and he's yelling. Everyone's yelling all the time.
He reminded me of my dad in that scene where he's yelling about the phone ringing. That would happen all the time when I was growing up. I would hear the phone ring and the other room, I just hear my dad go, "God damn it!"
Yeah, top-notch acting all across the board.
The best thing too is they're all doing. I'm a sucker for vulgar East Coast accents.
Too cartoony?
No.
Like Daniel Day-Lewis in Gangs in New York. You know, he's got the mustache, and there's a weird quality to it. But this, like, it's listed as comedy.
Oh yeah, this is a comedy. It's a dark comedy.
It completely works as a dark comedy.
It does, but there are those like we were talking about. There's some tonal shifts that kind of are like a punch in the gut, like when he's trying to steal his own daughter and get out of the house, and like that was intense, and that worked as a dramatic scene.
A tonal shift in a good way.
Yeah, not in a bad way. And yeah, there are just some sequences in this movie that. It's like one after another. Every scene is just like a little masterpiece.
Mm-hmm. The movie's fun to watch.
It's like you're watching a real movie.
It's like you're watching a real movie.
Where you're intrigued in what's going to happen in the story.
Yeah, you know it's going to end up with him going to prison.
That's something to bring up too, is that we've seen this type of story before. Mm-hmm. We've seen this type of story from Scorsese before, but it completely works because of the execution and the performances.
And then lots of subtle little touches, like they keep cutting to like 4:3 video footage here and there. Then there's a couple moments where you hear characters' inner monologues, especially the scene where he's talking to the Swiss banker, and they both have a exchange words in their minds through looks, and that's probably pulled right out of the book because it's a book.
Yeah.
But little touches like that in a movie just added to it, and they just like put them in wherever. I'll just put them in wherever. I don't have to establish this. I don't have to set a thing where every character is we're always cutting to their inner thoughts, but I'll just do it whenever I feel like it. And little touches like that. It's just it's so much creativity, so much energy. It's great.
They're gonna need to send in the National Guard to take me out, because I ain't going nowhere!
We don't work for you, man.
You have my money taped to your boobs. Technically, you do work for me.
What would Martin Scorsese say if you walked into this VCR repair shop right now? He would say, "Oh my God, that's fucking disgusting," and he would leave.
Kill me. Please kill me. I don't even want the surgery anymore. Just kill me.
Anyway, we saw the best film of 2013 and the last day of 2013, almost. What were some other great films of 2013, or bad films of 2013, that you 2013 may have 2013 seen 2013?
Well, I saw two movies I'm going to clump together here because they're very similar thematically. One was borderline unwatchable, and one was very watchable, which was The Bling Ring and Spring Breakers. The Bling Ring is my last straw with Sofia Coppola. I think I hate her films. I like Lost in Translation. It's a really good movie. But everything else she's done is just long shots, meandering on nothing. And this Bling Ring movie, it's based on a true story. It's about these young, vapid girls living in Hollywood that break into celebrity homes and steal their shit. And then that's the movie. They break into houses and they steal stuff. And then they get caught, and then the movie ends. I hate that Sofia Coppola.
She's the daughter of Francis Ford Coppola, because that's a film I also saw this year called Twixt, which starred that bloated man, Val Kilmer, and I guess Francis Ford Coppola is going through a phase where at age 84 he discovered that there's a green screen. Oh, I can put a background in.
That Francis Ford Coppola, he doesn't give a fuck anymore. I really think he's like, I directed Apocalypse Now, I directed The Godfather, I don't give no fucks. I'm gonna shoot this on a camcorder and I don't care.
You mean I can put a background in without going to the actual background? To do it with computers? We'll get Val Kilmer in front of the green screen. Make sure you get a big green screen though.
Wow, like terrible. But you wanted to compare Bling Ring to Spring Break.
Spring Breakers, which is a movie that I'm glad I didn't see in the theater by myself, or I would have felt like a pervert. But it's a Harmony Korine film. I have a love-hate relationship with Harmony Korine. I think he's a horrible fraud. I think it's sort of an emperor has no clothes situation. He's playing pretend avant-garde filmmaker. But his movies always have these sequences and these images that really stick with you. His movie Gummo, there's a little scrawny kid in a bathtub, a filthy bathwater, eating spaghetti. And it's like, I don't know, he's sort of like a pretentious John Waters without the humor, just going for shock value and things like that. And Harmony Korine also directed a movie called Mr. Lonely, which is about an island. Well, it's about an island of celebrity impersonators, and I have a feeling that's his most personal movie because he's impersonating an experimental filmmaker. He likes to cast Werner Herzog and stuff, and so it's clear who his influences are, but his movies are completely hollow and devoid of any sort of subtext. And the Spring Breakers movie is no different, but it's very gorgeous to look at visually. All of his other movies are intentionally ugly. It's got a very sort of montage-y visual style, the whole movie. So it has sort of a dreamlike quality. So really good visually, really, it keeps you engaged. You're sort of hypnotized by the images, and there's lots of neon lights and things like that. And James Franco is actually really great in it. He plays a white trash rapper named Alien, and it's the type of part he should be playing.
Spring break forever, bitches.
Well, speaking of characters with addiction problems and bad New Jersey accents, I also saw a movie called Don John, and it was the writing and directorial debut of Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
My body, my pad, my ride, my family, my church, my boys, my girls, my porn.
This movie was a stinker.
Oh.
Well, Jay, let me ask you this. What do you know about Don John?
I know it's directed by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and he's addicted to porn. That's pretty much all I know.
Okay. Well, I don't...
Also, I gathered from the trailer that Scarlett Johansson was doing the same voice she does in the Marble Columns commercials on Saturday Night Live.
You're cute, I like you.
What I've heard about the movie was that he spent a very long time making it or writing it, getting it produced, I guess, sort of like his project. I don't want to call it a vanity piece or a vanity project, but it comes off like it's supposed to be more depthful, thoughtful, intelligent than it actually is. You get this kind of vibe that he's trying to do this coming-of-age story, this really smart movie about relationships and people, and it comes off as a little juvenile in the intellectual department as far as how the story progresses.
She caught me watching porn.
That's it?
Right? Oh!
How do you watch that? How do you watch all the stupid movies that you watch?
Is it funny? Because the trailers make it look like a comedy.
That's the thing, it's not.
Okay.
You get the impression that it's like a Seth Rogen, Judd Apatow jerk-off comedy, but it really isn't. And that's not really featured in the movie too much. I get more of he's trying to do like Saturday Night Fever, Rocky kind of movie. One of the things that happens in the movie is he's befriended by Julianne Moore. He gets caught watching the porno by Scarlett Johansson, her character turns into this like crazy bitch. The porno thing to her, it's like, oh no, this is cheating on me, this is awful, you're a monster, you have a problem. And then so she makes him take a college course so that he can become something more than a bartender.
Okay.
She's sort of grooming him. She's very controlling. And he's watching porno on his cell phone in the college classroom before the lecture starts. And Julianne Moore comes up to him. She's like, "Is that porno?" And he's like, "No, crazy lady. What?" And then she's like completely open, and you're like, "Where's this going?" And then, spoilers! And then the arc of the movie, surprisingly, is they fall in love. So the hot girl turned out to be a controlling, crazy bitch, but the older woman turned out to be a little more sensitive and more of an emotional connection to him.
That's it, huh?
That's exactly what my thoughts were at the end of it. I was going, oh, that's it.
Wow, we're on a roll with overly simplistic, empty movies here, aren't we?
So not a raunchy jerk-off comedy like people were thinking, but not a heavy, thoughtful character piece. Sort of just like a moo. I think JGL could be a fine director of actors, but he should never write a script ever again.
Well, speaking of, you mentioned Coppola and Twixt, and we've been talking about these 70s directors that have lost some of their spark over the years. I saw Brian De Palma's latest film called Passion. That's the title of the movie. It's very memorable.
She's dangerous, Isabel.
Things are so much more fun with Dirk around, aren't they?
Whatever she needs, I supply.
I guess it was supposed to be his attempt to return to the kind of stuff he was doing in the 70s and 80s, Body Double, Dressed to Kill, movies like that. Really great movies. I like Brian De Palma a lot. The thing I like about Brian De Palma is his visual style. He's very kind of throws everything in. Very stylish director, very stylistic movies. And there are elements of that in this movie.
It's stylistically designed to be that way?
It's stylistically designed to be that way.
But we can diminish those effects. So wait, he wants to diminish the effects of what was stylistically designed to be that way. Sounds like backtracking to me. That sounds like a big old contradiction.
So yeah, the movie has some really good sequences, really classic De Palma moments. It's kind of like if you go to see a band that used to be awesome, and they play nothing but their new songs that all suck, and then they play like 1 or 2 classic songs, and you're like, oh, here we go. It felt like that. But the story and the script is so like underwritten and forgettable, and they work in an advertising agency and they're backstabbing each other, and that's the plot of the movie.
But Jay, let me tell you, while you're watching thought-provoking films by classic directors such as Brian De Palma,
yes,
I saw Bad Grandpa. And let me tell you, Brian De Palma has nothing on Bad Grandpa.
Who directed Bad Grandpa? Did anybody direct that movie, or did it just kind of, it's just a bunch of people had cameras and they shot something?
It made itself.
Okay.
Yeah, you shouldn't drink so much. Are we gonna get in trouble for this?
They won't notice a thing. That's how it looks most of the time anyway. Whoa.
I'm not a Jackass fan, and I mostly enjoyed the movies, although to me the best parts of the movies are the hidden camera joke stuff. I don't like the gross out stuff.
No.
I don't like the puking or dumping feces on one's head or putting toy cars up a butt and getting x-rayed. Like all that stuff is just like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not laughing hysterically at it like they are in the movie, but when Johnny Knoxville puts on his old man costume and Spike Jonze dresses up as an old lady and they do hidden camera pranks, I find the hidden camera stuff funnier. And that's what this whole movie is. The movie's hung on a very loose plot of Grandpa taking the little kid across country to go to his real father.
And comedy ensues.
And comedy ensues, one location after the other where they set up where Bad Grandpa goes on and does stuff. I don't even need to talk about the movie, but fun hidden camera pranks, and that's all it is. It's great.
How was Johnny Knoxville in it? What do you do with that character for a feature-length film? Because he works in those little doses where it's like, oh, he's the foul-mouthed grandpa. I get it. Is there any attempt at characterization, or is it just...
There's like, they stamp on the little sweet moment here and there.
Okay.
But it's not overdone. And that's another thing I liked about it too. It has enough of a story to keep things moving forward. It's not just one scene after the other, but it's not schmaltzy and shoving in this and that because it needs to, because it feels like it needs to.
Okay.
It's just
so it is what it should be.
a
movie
very
like that.
thin plot that gets them from scene to scene to scene.
Don't hurt me.
Don't
hurt me. I'm 86 years old. Don't hurt me. Swing it!
Well, I did see a very good movie called Maniac. It's a remake.
Maniac Cop?
Not Maniac Cop, although Maniac, the original Maniac, and Maniac Cop were both directed by the same guy.
So he really likes the word cop.
Please don't scream. You're so beautiful.
But yeah, it's a remake of the, I think, 1980 somewhat classic grindhouse splatter movie Maniac, starring Joe Spinell. Really great Tom Savini effects. It's a movie. I can't say I like the original movie. It's not a movie that's easy to like because it's so sleazy and you feel like you have to take a shower after watching it. But it's effective in what it's trying to do, and it's a movie I've always been fond of. And people talk about, like, a lot of people really liked that Evil Dead remake, and they say if you're going to remake a classic horror movie, like, this is how you do it. I wasn't that sold on the Evil Dead remake. It was okay, but it felt too much like a lot of it was trying to be the same sort of style as the original. And this Maniac remake is a perfect example of how to remake an older horror film. It's a lot of the same elements, same story elements. It's this creepy guy that kills women, scalps them, and puts their scalps on mannequins. And this movie takes that, a lot of the same elements, but it's done in such a drastically different style and a different tone that it feels like a completely different movie, even though it has almost all the same story elements to it. Really well done. It's told from the first-person point of view, so you're literally in the eyes of the serial killer. Really great score, kind of a very 80s synth-sounding score. I don't know if you've seen these Star Wars reviews that are on YouTube.
No.
They're done by like a creepy old man, and it's all from his point of view. And there were elements in this Maniac remake that felt like that. There's one part when he pulls out a can of Raid, and he's spraying Raid around, and he kills women. So, yeah, a lot of similarities to this weird YouTube character.
Did that YouTube video come out before this was made?
It did.
Well, speaking of women killing sadistic maniacs, I also saw the film about Walt Disney. Well, speaking of porn addiction and jerking off, I also saw Saving Mr. Banks.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are beginning our descent into Los Angeles.
Welcome, Mrs. P.L. Travers, to the City of Angels.
It smells like
Jasmine.
chlorine and sweat.
Oh, is that Disney film about Disney making a Disney movie?
Yes. Yes. Well, let me just speak to that.
Okay.
I
haven't seen it. So.
I enjoyed this film quite a bit. Yes, it's got schmaltz in it. Disney is not portrayed as a pro-Nazi psychopath who has preserved his own head in a jar. As everyone knows, he was a belligerent fascist dictator, child rapist, murderer, and loony. No, it's not about Disney. Disney is in the film and he's a main character, but it's not about him. The movie's about the author of the Mary Poppins books. The film's generally about Disney trying to get the Mary Poppins movie made. And this woman is very attached to her characters, to her books. She's very specific, she's very British, very uptight. And Disney's just like, hey, come on out, I'm Walt Disney, come to California. And she absolutely despises what he does, his cartoon characters. She thinks it's all silly. And it's a really interesting kind of character movie, because she's a real person, and she lived like her father was an alcoholic. Mr. Banks is her father.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Who the fuck is Mr. Banks?
Mr. Banks is the character in Mary Poppins, but in real life, he's based on her father.
Okay.
And her father was like an alcoholic and drank himself to death. And Mary Poppins was real. So it's sort of like her psyche. It's her coming to terms with stuff about her childhood and letting go of certain emotions, and her feeling very guarded about her characters. And mainly, it's her having her issues with her father. So it's not a schmaltzy, silly, goofy, pro-Disney movie. It's about other things. And it's a good movie.
So when is Disney going to make their film about the making of Song of the South?
Oh my God.
Oh, I saw, lastly, Jobs, the quickly rushed into production exploitation movie of the recently deceased Steve Jobs.
Oh my God.
I saw it out of morbid curiosity. I assumed it was going to be bad, but I am interested in Steve Jobs. I think he was an interesting person.
Welcome to Apple Computer.
Is this everything?
Startup.
So I was curious to see a movie version of him, and Ashton Kutcher is just the worst. So I was curious to see him trying to portray a real human being, and he is laughably bad in the movie.
Really?
I would say it's almost worth seeing just to see his terrible performance. Almost. The movie seems to be going out of its way to portray Steve Jobs as an asshole. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, he was a tough person, but he was a genius, I think is what they're going for. But it's more just, oh, he was just a dick to everybody, and then the movie's over.
Typeface isn't a pressing issue. Get out.
So as far as Ashton Kutcher's acting, would you say he did a bad performance?
Yeah, I would. He was really bad in the movie.
Okay, yeah. Much like Wolf of Wall Street was based on a book written by the guy himself. I saw a different movie based on a book co-written by the guy himself called Captain Phillips, also starring Tom Hanks, who also portrayed Mr. Disney. Lots of similarities here.
This is Mask, Alabama. We are an unarmed freighter. We have 2 skiffs approaching with armed intruders.
A really good movie. As far as the movie goes,
It's the Paul Greengrass, right?
it's directed by Paul Greengrass, who does a lot of he did United '93, really kind of oomphy, visceral director. Like, oh, look at that, this is great.
Yeah.
Just real bare bones. This is what happened, down to brass tacks. Like, great stuff. Very engaging movie. Great performance by Tom Hanks. I would say watch it. I don't know. There was some controversy whether or not it was completely accurate.
Yeah, there was some talk about from like other crew members of the boat saying that the movie's complete bullshit. But
well, I mean, like certain elements maybe, but like the ending really happened. That really happened.
The asteroid hit the Earth?
Yeah.
Captain Phillips, can you hear me?
Well, it seems like the movies that we saw that we didn't talk about on Other Half in the Bags were mostly disappointments. Oh, we said Dr. Caligari, Dr. Phillips, Saving
Mr. Phillips.
Captain Phillips.
Saving Captain Phillips.
You said that was good.
Saving Mr. Banks, Captain Phillips, Bad Grandpa.
Okay.
All approved.
Yep, but 2014 will bring us soon-to-be classics like I, Frankenstein, A Haunted House 2, and The Legend of Hercules.
Don't forget the remake of that classic movie we all love. I can't wait for 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, look, Mr. Plinkett's forwarding his fucking mail here. What an asshole.
What is it?
Hey, it's a letter from his lawyer. They're saying that the city is ready to settle with him, and they want to see him tomorrow morning.
Oh, that's great news. Hey, Mr. Plinkett.
Oh no, I think Mr. Plinkett died of a heart attack when we were talking about the movie. Shit, we weren't even paying attention. I'll call 911.
Oh, wait, hold on a second. I'm not so sure he's dead. You know, I've heard that when you die, you lose control of your bowels.
Oh.